Hello. Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to anyone who's watching. I've rather embarrassed myself. So um, I recorded a good hour of my live stream, and it didn't work. It didn't work, and YouTube was saying it was working. Riverside was saying it was working. I then decide to go and check uh, on my YouTube account, and it said notifications. So yeah, so I've had a good cry and shout. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed because I thought it was really strong what I said, but I can't recover it now. So anyway, live and learn, live and learn. It's just a bit shit, if I'm being honest, and I'm a bit peeved off that both Riverside and the platform that I used to do my streaming and recording um and YouTube were telling me fibs, let's say. So, let's before I go on to explain what the purpose of this excuse me, what the purpose of the what the purpose of this video of this live stream is today, I am going to check that it is actually working because I can't be having it. I cannot be having it right now. Yep, so it is working. It is actually working. Thank God. Thank God. Oh, I'm just so frustrated with myself. But there we go. I just check. Let's just check my personal account. Yeah. Okay. So not much I can do. Not much I can do. Let's just move on. Let's move on. So right. Let me share my screen before I completely lose my marbles. So afternoon, everybody. Hello, welcome to anyone that's watching. I did. There were 10 people that were waiting in the queue for my for the one that I scheduled. In fact, I am going to remove that because I do not want people going over to that by mistake. So let me just sure I delete forever. Yes, I understand. Delete forever. There we go. Right, that's all been sorted now. Let me go. Let me just find my marbles a little bit. Sorry, guys. Do apologise. I'll keep hitting the wrong tab. Right. Okay, that all right. Right. It is working now. I can see I'm live. I'm being viewed. Right. Okay. So it's conference season. Let's get that away. So hello, welcome everybody. It is conference season. As we already know, we've had Reforms Conference gone. So I thought, because I'm a Liberal Democrat member, that I would show my own bias there. I would do a reaction of the conference that is being held at Brighton. Now, I had planned to attend conference this year because, you know what, for so how long have I been a member? So 2000. So for the For the 15 plus years that I've been in and out of the Lib Dems, because I will admit I've been in and out the Lib Dems quite a few times, and I've lost track in terms of tallying up my my days of being a Lib Dem member. I have never actually attended conference for the 15 plus years that I've been a member. Now, admittedly, that a lot of it was because I've not consecutively been a member for those 15 plus years. I've either been a member of the Liberal Democrats or I've been a member of the Labour Party. And I think I've probably been a member of the Labour Party longer than I've been a member of the Liberal Democrats. But still, in the times that I have been a Liberal Democrat member, apart from the election of 2010, in which after that result and us bedding the Tories, I was not really that enthused about attending conference, despite us getting into government. But I've not attended conference because I think for a long time I had treated being a Liberal Democrat member as a bit like when you join a gym membership for you get your New Year's resolution health kick. You join a political party and you treat it like a gym membership. You pay your fee, you pay your membership fee, but you don't actually go and use the equipment. Like, probably that's probably not the right phrase to use, Andy, but you know what I mean. And I was hoping to go this year with Matthew Holbert, but as is life, I've had a few. I've had a few expenses that have had to take priority, and I've just basically lost track of time. And with losing track of time means I've lost track of planning. And with losing track of planning, it meant that any realistic chance of me attending conference was basically nil, because I'd be paying extortionate amounts of hotel fees and hotel accommodation. And I'm a little bit picky when it comes to. I like my nice hotels, my nice rooms, but I'm not paying the earth for it. And I just know that it's conference season in Bournemouth, and they're gonna. If I try to attend, even if I was planning it last month, I would be paying the earth for it. So sadly, this year I've not been able to attend conference. I would love to have attended conference with my good friend Matthew. He is at conference, Matthew Holbert, who some of you might know is my part of my panel regular. He is at conference this year, and when I've shared, you've noticed that I've paused. So this is taken from the Liberal Democrats' own YouTube channel, which I know the Liberal Democrats actually have a YouTube channel, and they know how to apparently they know how to stream things live better than me. So there we go. I can't make any harsh judgments about Lib Dem social media strategy no more, considering what a complete arse I've made about my own live streaming. But there we go. But no, they actually do have a YouTube channel, and they are currently streaming the conference live. It is still, I believe, yes, it is still live at the moment. So every time I keep that pause button, that grey bar is going to get more and more filled. But I paused at a particular point because I want to discuss a particular, let's just say, an interesting start of conference, an interesting start of the of conference morning, of this morning's conference, and I thought I would sort of use that as an opportunity to sort of ease ourselves into this conversation and stream. But as I've paused on the very bit that I want to talk about, you may see a certain Matthew Holbert in the on the conference floor, on the in the audience, in the crowd, let's say. So we could have a, maybe we could have a little game of where's Matthew, find Matthew. But no, so he is at conference as we speak. And I would love to have been in attendance with him, but sadly not this year. So I just thought, and this is admittedly very on the knee, it might be a little bit rough and ready, guys, I'm not going to lie, but I've decided that I would do a live stream of the conference from the comfort of my own home. Since it is being broadcasted live on YouTube, and I thought, why not? Why not use the opportunity to unpack the conference day and to give my own honest thoughts about what I think of the speeches, the players, the motions, and stuff like that. But before I do, for anyone who is watching, or apparently there's 4 of you, so please say hi if you want to. The 4 of you that are watching this, I'm just going to. I'm just going there we go. I'm just going to go on X even. That's automatic. Let me just put that down. Let me just going to update my social media, so bear with me. Now live at your level. I'm going to have to be, this is going to be a bit rough and ready as well. Now live at Yellow Rebel. Live right now. LibDem conference reaction. And let me grab that. Paste as. Oh, it keeps doing this. Paste as. Oh, it's got rid of me bloody thing. Me emoji. There we go. I would normally do this on Facebook and Instagram, but you know what? I don't want to be spending most of my live stream updating my social media. So that's sorted. So right, thanks for your patience, everyone. So as I promised, I paused on a moment in which I paused at a moment on a moment that happened this morning at a conference. I'm getting distracted. I'm watching something else then. I was getting distracted then. So like I promised, I paused at a moment in conference. And I'll be honest, it was an uneasy and tense start of conference morning. So after everyone did all the dry stuff about protocol, procedure, and got all the pleasantries out of the way, there was actually a debate about trans rights, and it wasn't a conversation I didn't think we would be having in the Liberal Democrats, if I'm being honest. To be honest, I'm still surprised that there are anti-trans activists that still exist in our party, given how, at least from my own impression, how vocal our membership seems to be in support of trans rights, but also how how it reflects both in terms of the public faces that we see and hear within our party. But there we go. Apparently there are people within our party who have a, let's say, gender critical view when it comes to our position on the issue of trans rights. But there was a motion put forward regarding diversity quotas for our candidate selection process. So the way it works in the Lib Dems is that so a lot of people will probably know that Labour have what often use what they call a good example when it comes for Labour, when it comes to trying to promote diversity and to have a good stock of candidates from different backgrounds, such as gender, sexuality, ethnicity, is that they often have an all shortlist of a particular group. Labour's is famously an all women shortlist, which they still continue to use. I think even as recently as the 2024 election, I think Labour still do all women shortlists, and I think probably might have even expanded that. And obviously, people might remember David Cameron infamously. I say infamously; he was infamous for his party, because he also pushed for all women shortlists when he was trying to diversify, make his diversify is the Tory party, and kind of make the Tories less of a toxic brand that it got a reputation for. Some of it with fierce opposition from his own Tory side. But we don't do that in the Liberal Democrats when it comes to our selection process. We don't have an all women shortlists, not that I know of. We don't tend to do all women shortlists or all LGBT shortlists, etc., etc. But what we do is that we have diversity quotas. And the reason we do these diversity quotas is to make sure that when we are selecting candidates to represent our party, that they have a better general makeup of the general population, and to help, I guess, punch up minorities who otherwise might feel excluded, whether it's through unconscious bias or unconscious discrimination, or even just downright structural bias or structural structural injustice. Now, I'm not saying they exist in the Liberal Democrats, not at all. But I think the reason we do these diversity quotas is basically to sort of help those minorities to be able to have a good chance to feel represented, even if it's not done through an all female minority short list. And so the reason this motion was so this motion that was put forward at conference this morning, I think about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. So it was really super early. So for anyone who was, because Bournemouth is it's a fair bit of travel for some Liberal Democrat members. I know we have quite a few. I know our strongholds are in the south, but even in the south, that could be quite. You could be talking 2.5, 3 hour journey, depending which part of the south you live in. So it was quite an early. It was quite an early one to discuss, and it's quite an early one to discuss. And I think I'll admit, when if you look at when I play the video, it wasn't really it had reasonable attendance. I wouldn't say it was particularly. It wouldn't say it was empty, but it was also not quite. I wouldn't say it was half full as well. the conference hall. I'd say probably maybe about a quarter to a third full. But what do you expect? If you start conference day at 8-9 o'clock in the morning, a lot of people will be traveling quite far. And I think, understandably, a lot of them would probably not want to start their day immediately at that time. I think that would, I think a lot of people would find that as a bit of an endurance test. But anyway, back on this motion. So this motion was put forward by some delegates in regards to the recent Supreme Court ruling when it came to how we assigned people's gender or gender identity, in which they ruled that it had to be assigned by their biological sex, which obviously means, there's a good example is the whole toilet debate, because now it means that someone who's a trans woman, who's gone through surgery, who looks like a woman, and identifies as a woman, and trans men, there are trans men who've gone through testosterone therapy, lost all their hair, they've got beards, had top surgery. You're now telling them that they have to, but by the legal definition, that legal ruling, they're now saying they have to go to the toilet of their biological sex, and obviously that is also created. This has also meant that this also invites other issues at large, beyond just where you go for a piss. And part of this motion is that they want to supposedly live up to the law, the letter of the law imposed by the Supreme Court ruling, in which they would bar trans women from standing in any women's as part of it. So basically, trans women would be barred from being part of the women's diversity quota, because their argument is because of the Supreme Court ruling, and because a lot of these people who are advocating it are they're arguing it from a very gender critical perspective. So I've already got an immediate should I be unkind? They already got a little bit of a bias there, so they've already got this kind of bias there. But they, I don't think they're making an argument from an intellectual curiosity on what it means to be a liberal. I think they're arguing it from quite a shallow thought pattern, I guess. So their motion would have so the motion today meant that they would have tried to have, you can argue it's a motion within a motion, and I'll explain that. I'll explain what I mean. So the motion itself would have been to have been able to table a longer discussion about that motion, and then that motion would have forced the party to do a constitutional amendment, which would bar trans women from being able to partake in the women's diversity quota. So that would have been, so if this motion had been the motion didn't pass, by the way, guys. It got defeated by over 2/3 at Conference Hall. So 2/3 at Conference Hall voted against it. So it didn't really get a look in at all. So no debate. So basically, it killed any attempts to have a debate on that. But had it been passed, had that been passed, that didn't mean it meant therefore you've killed the essence. So had it passed, it wouldn't have meant that you're keeping with the spirit of the bill. The motion. So basically, the motion was to debate. This is so confusing. Even I'm a bit confused by this. I'll be honest. I don't really understand why. Maybe Matthew can, if I get a chance to speak to Matthew, maybe I can ask him why they do it this way. But basically, the motion was whether they should have a debate on the motion itself. But that got defeated, so it didn't get a look in. So that basically means it's killed the motion completely. Now, you could argue as a liberal, well, this is quite illiberal, really. You're telling you're telling delegates that they're not entitled to have a conversation or a debate on that. And one can make an intellectual, out of intellectual curiosity, one could argue, well, that's quite illiberal, right? That's very illiberal, Andy. Why would anyone pass that? That's not what the Liberal Democrats are about. It's in our name. We are the Liberal Democrats. Indeed, we are. We are the Liberal Democrats. We're not the Libertarian Democrats. And this is where I have a big difference for people, because in this, and I'll play the video in a mo. I'll play. So in the video, they introduce what the motion is. They introduce why it's been why they brought this forward to the conference floor, and then you had someone who opposed it and wanted to just defeat the motion completely, so it didn't go to a debate. And then so basically there was like a mini debate. There was a mini debate about having the debate, if that makes sense. And then you had someone who was in support of the motion and think that we basically was making the argument that just because you don't approve of something does not mean you should exercise the right to kill it, and that it's illiberal, right? So, for me, liberalism is about, yes, it is about the freedom of choice, the freedom of speech, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of protest. However, liberalism is also about the freedom from social injustice, freedom from discrimination, freedom from exclusion, and freedom from structural injustice and things like poverty. But I always like to throw poverty in there, but it doesn't connect in context with what I'm saying about the whole trans debate. Now, that, to me, is liberalism. We believe in the freedom of, but the freedom of has to be mindful of the people who don't feel empowered, who are marginalized, who are a minority group, who feel that that unless people speak up and protect them. And it's about protections. It's not just about freedom's not about Wild West, do what you want. Liberalism is about protections. You make sure you have liberal policies that help protect people who otherwise and enable those people so that they can have the freedom and aspirations to live their lives peacefully, without harm, without fear, without tyranny, and without fear of harmful consequences. And I do think words have harmful consequences. Like, I'm not a free speech absolutist. I do believe that there are some things that that needs to be, that needs to be moderated sometimes. Because I do think, it's like the saying goes that the pen is mightier than the sword. The pen is mightier than the sword. And I think you have to sometimes be careful. Now, questions of how far a government goes, that's another debate on. But anyway, for me, liberalism is about protecting those minorities, making sure that they don't live in fear, that the state makes sure they shelter them, protect them, and enables them and gives them the and does enough that they can do so that they can live their lives peacefully, with dignity, and without fear. Libertarianism is not about that. Libertarians, people who say, oh, you're not being liberal there, Andy. No, we are liberals. We're not libertarians. If like I said, we are the liberal Democrats, not the libertarian Democrats. If you want to live in this world where you can just do whatever you want, say whatever you like, and not have any consequences, and and have a Wild West free for all, then be a libertarian. Form your own party called the Libertarian Party. If you want to be full orange book libertarians, fine, that's absolutely fine. If you want to be social libertarians, but you don't mind the state interfering in the economy, one, I think you've got a bit of a contradiction there, and I think you need to reevaluate your philosophical undertakings. I guess undertakings, probably not the right word to use, but fine, that's fine. But don't try and pretend that you're acting as liberals when I think it is more illiberal to deny, to deny protections, to deny the freedom, to deny the liberty, the extension of liberty, and for them to have the freedom from injustice, from discrimination, from fear, and from ignorance in the name of liberalism. That's not. And sadly, what I fear most about a lot of these people, it's less about those intellectual arguments from a philosophical liberal persuasion. What I worry is that I think it puts our party having this conflict. Now, do I think there's do I think there is an uneasy conflict in tension when it comes to the ideology of liberalism that centers around the trans debate and freedom of speech? Yes. However, I do worry that this puts their own party in a very confusing position when it comes to this debate. Because I've already heard, I see it in the membership, and I see it from a lot of respected Liberal Democrat parliamentarians that they are, they're pro-trans LGBT. They say, oh, it's a bad decision, blah, blah, blah. And they're mindful. They like to say, oh, we're very mindful that the Supreme Court ruling, and we need to be mindful about the trans community. We have to be mindful, and that they live in dignity, and we don't try and marginalise them. Basically, I think most Lib Dem members, most of them, I do think there's a few bad apples, but most of them are very well-meaning. They're very well-meaning. They recognise and understand that trans people are getting a very hard time at the moment. However, the leadership, some things that the leadership has said and done has made our position quite confusing. Like when Ed Davies said, the Supreme Court ruling, oh, yes, we need to be mindful, and make sure that, we don't try and marginalise or stigmatise the trans community. But the Supreme Court ruling has made things, my position's clear, that we will honour, we'll go by the Supreme Court ruling, and it's clarified things. Now, Now, one, I don't think it has clarified things at all. I don't think it has clarified things. I think that's a complete misrepresentation of what's gone on. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie here. It does make it's just a confusing position. It's a confusing position to take. It's and I worry that having and going back to, like, is it illiberal? Is it quite illiberal to shut down someone even trying to have a debate on this? Yeah, maybe it is quite illiberal. But my argument is that I think it's more illiberal by inviting people to try and make arguments on an already victimized, marginalized group who feel very vulnerable right now, who feel very fearful right now, or who all they want to do is to live their authentic self and live their lives peacefully, and are not doing. And again, pivoting their arguments against trans people, when we know most SA, because I can't say it on YouTube, but most SA against women, 99.9% of them are not done by trans people, trans women. They're being done by cis men. They're being done by cis men. And I think that is being completely eroded and lost in this argument. And I worry that some of the I do worry that some of the rhetoric that is coming out from this debate is not too dissimilar to the kind of arguments that was being made against gay, lesbian, and bisexual people. Some of the language, we're trying to protect the children. We don't want our children to be mutilated. Think of the children, pearl clutching. Oh, think of the children. Please, someone think of the children. All being Reverend Lovejoys. Or, oh, think of the women. Those women. We're thinking of, we're doing it for women. No. Like, if you cared about women, then why do you think the Supreme Court ruling, which impacts not just trans women, but also trans men, why do you think that ruling puts, I've got a friend who's a trans man, female to male. They're bald, they've got a beard, they've had top surgery, they're going in for their bottom surgery, they've had testosterone, they've got a very, very more masculine voice than me, I must add. They look and sound like a bloke, and they identify as a bloke. They pretty much had their surgery nearly complete, apart from the bottom bit. How is that going to protect women? How is that protecting women? Whereby saying, right, we're doing this for women, but you've now got, my mate's now got, because they work for Barclays and they've told them they've got to use the toilets assigned by sex according to the ruling. How is that making it any safer? How is that making any safer for the women? For starters, the women that are there, because they're going to see my mate and be so confused and feel so threatened, and also it's just so invasive. Why are you being so invasive when it comes to this? But one, how is that making women feel safer? Who they're going to look at my friend and just objectively think, could they look a bit like a bloke? Why are you here? And I've had a female friend. I've had a female friend who because of their way, they were quite a chunky person in the past, and because of the way they styled themselves, they were quite butch. They were a woman, and went to the women's toilets, and they were threatened and feared. So one, I don't think you're protecting women, and two, now you're putting my friend in that vulnerable position, because now again, someone who was a woman again, you're not helping women. You're not helping women, and that's what worries me about the debate here. So, is it illiberal? Is it quite illiberal for someone like me to say, "Oh, we should completely shut down the debate and silence them"? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's an argument there, but I don't want to invite the kind of rhetoric and language and uh, factually inaccurate views which will do more harm and in just inviting those harmful ideas than trying than just completely closing it off, because I've got a lot of issues with the factual um, um, factual inaccuracies when it comes to this. And like I said, we are liberals, not libertarians. And even when I saw this conversation, even when I saw this, I wasn't actually seeing it from a distinctly intellectual argument or a philosophically depthful argument. I was just seeing it from the kind of the rhetoric you would hear in the 1980s against gay, lesbian, and bisexual people, that, you know, oh, they're all sexual predators. They're all, you know, there are limits and consequences when it comes to discussions like this. Like, I couldn't be allowed to say, oh, you know, we should have a debate on whether we should allow gay men to look after children and be in nurseries because they're all, you know, they're sexual predators and P words. We wouldn't have that today. You know, we wouldn't have that today. So, but yeah, so I've paused on the moment. I'm going to let it play, and then I'll then add my bits to. I'll just add my bits towards it. So let's let it play and see. So the motion was an F4 motion, and that F4 motion, like I said earlier, it was basically a motion within a motion. So the motion was basically to allow time to table a debate in which that would have then had a vote on a constitutional amendment, and then so had this had passed, then there would have been a constitutional amendment. There would have been a debate on that, and had that had passed, the constitutional amendment would have basically barred trans women from being allowed to be use their assigned sex, assigned gender, assigned gender and sex to be part of like women only groups, or the diversity quotas for candidate selections. So yeah, that was the F4, but it didn't get a look in. It got heavily defeated. But yeah, you'll see it gets a little bit. It gets quite tense at times, a little bit nasty. Not gonna lie. Now, this is interesting. So, misrepresents the legal position. Now, this is what frustrates me about this whole Supreme Court ruling, because a lot of people say, you know, the argument's been, oh, it gives so much clarity now. When really, the more you begin to dive into it and start presenting different arguments, it actually it makes it isn't that clear cut, and it's actually it doesn't make things, it doesn't give that clarity. If anything, I think we're kind of we're kind of reeling from the fallout from this now. But it's interesting that the person arguing against having this motion be debated on at all is saying that it misrepresents the legal argument. Now, I say that because Labour, they have taken a position in which they have decided to exclude trans people from being part of, like, Women for Labour or women only groups or whatever, or just basically they've decided to go on the they've decided to go on what the Supreme Court and what the Equality Commissioners recommended, which is that people should go, they should access services and spaces based on their biological sex as opposed to their transitioned or assigned sex or gender. Now, Labour have decided to honour that in both spaces for women and for shortlisting of female candidates. Now, that is made me very curious about why haven't we done that? So are we in danger of being in a legal pitfall here, or have we been able to? I think there's an argument that because political parties, they can have certain exemptions. So political parties, they have the benefit that they can be they can have certain privileges when it comes to things like membership and I guess, like, really, I don't like to use the word discrimination, but like kind of they exclusion or make decisions that is contrary to normal business regulation. So I don't know. I find that very interesting, but they say it's been misrepresented, and yet Labour's taken a completely different opinion, in which, admittedly, for the Labour people for the Labour member friends that I know, that are still in Labour, they don't agree with the Supreme Court ruling or Labour's take on it. But yeah. Oh, strong language there, bigotry in our name. Now, I would have probably approached that differently. Sometimes you just have to say it. I'll be honest, and I think part of me thinks, yeah, it's just call it out what it is. But I think sometimes you have to probably. I think maybe it's just me as a person. I think you have to sometimes be less combative with people. And these are you're talking to your own flock here. You're talking to your own flock. These are not like the Tories or Reform or Labour. These are Lib Dem members too. And try not to. They say don't shit on your own team. Is that a saying? Don't shit on your own team, or don't shit on your own bed. That's it. Don't shit on your own bed. I don't know. I would have probably tried to. I just think it's me as a person. I just think you're better off trying to win arguments than picking fights. That's what I believe. I think you're better off trying to win arguments than picking fights. It's a bit like how my friend and panel regular Matthew Holber gets criticised for being on Talk TV. But he says, I go on there, to make my case, put up a fight, and give that visibility. And I think it's the same when you debating people in your own party. Now, maybe there has to be a settlement on that. Maybe that has to be a constitutional settlement. I don't know. I don't know if we can make constitutional settlements when it comes to, I guess, values. I mean, I guess values could, you can probably write it better in terms of like what our values are. But in terms of policy, I don't think we really do have. We don't really constitute actual party policy like these are enshrined into our. but maybe values. Maybe there has to be a settlement, and just say, we are, just play it out in black and white. We are a social liberal party that is about empowering minorities, and we basically just put it in black and white. But I just think you have to be less combative. It's bigotry. But I think it is bigotry. It is bigotry. It is bigotry. Like, the rhetoric that comes out is very bigotry. Oh. So, there's our Matthew. Is he holding his card up? No, he's not. Oh no, he is. He is. But yeah. There's Matthew Holbert. There he is, my good friend Matthew Holbert. He's a conference because he's actually doing a fringe group with Dignity, Dying with Dignity and Dying. I can't remember the group now, but he's doing a fringe with them, in which, much like this, they're going to have a debate. I guess it's less about. It's a fringe group from a third-party organisation, so it's going to be less about tabling motions and voting, and more about having a conversation about assisted dying, and I guess euthanasia. We aren't doing euthanasia in this country. As a liberal, I support assisted dying because I believe in giving people choices. And I've also had family experiences. My mum passed away. She died of cancer when I was 19. So I've always had a very strong view when it came to assisted dying. But no, there's Matthew. So yeah. There he is. It's a shame I couldn't be there with him. That would have been really, really, really fun. But he seemed to have voted for the debate, which I because Matthew is like me. He's very pro LGBT. He thinks trans people are getting a crap time, and are just like they're currently they're currently the punching bags at the moment, along with like Muslims, and immigrants as well. But because he goes on Talk TV, he probably thinks, well, I'll allow this to be debated. I think they should air their view. So yeah, we'll respect there. Respect. And it is being debated as such. It's just not going to get a full look in, which I think is fair. Not enforceable. That might explain my question earlier about why is Labour taking a very, because Labour and Lib Dems are like political bedfellows usually, at least with the membership they probably still are political bedfellows when it comes to LGBT and social issues. But it's interesting, Labour have decided to. Unless I've had old news from that, but last time I read it was like they decided that they are going to exclude trans people from spaces and listings based on their assigned gender or sex. So I find that quite interesting. But misrepresented, that it can't be enforced. It might be because because it can't be enforced. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to upskirt people? Like, are we going to upskirt people? Like, that sounds very, that doesn't sound particularly great, does it? But I suppose, yeah, you can't really enforce it. It is unenforceable, and what are you going to do? Like, are you going to start inspecting people's, like bulges, I guess? Like, Yeah. So yeah, that explains it. Nope. Just oh, again, it's very loaded language, like small and extremist fat. I mean, I think if I'm gonna be really critical about my own party. Like I do think, we have got this very we do seem to like want it both ways when it comes to this. And a lot of other things as well. Like I think we want it both ways when it comes to immigration, when it comes to like things like the flags and and patriotism. I think we dip our toes. We look both ways, I think. I think we just need to like settle this. I think as a party, we just need to have a consistent, concrete view when it comes to this, and just even if it means writing it into the constitution, and at least put it at a vote. Because, like I said, we are a socially liberal party, and like I explained before, I think there are more nuances and more it's we're not libertarians, guys. We're not libertarians. But yeah, I think we need to try and settle this argument as a party, because the fact that we're having this conversation where I know across membership that we are pro LGBT, but it completely stifles us on a national level and in terms of leadership, because we have had Ed Davies say, "Oh, the Supreme Court has made things, is clarified things." But we're well-meaning Lib Dems. We're very well-meaning. Oh no, we have to be mindful, and it feels a bit milk toast at times. Yeah, that's my position as a liberal. Oh, doctor, forgot she was a doctor. Oh, afternoon for me. To hear both sides, I'd love to know, is she a free speech absolutist? Like, I'd love to know, like, would she, what would her comments be? Like, for example, the recent Unite the Kingdom, which I'm just going to call the Unite the Right. They are basically the Unite the Right of the UK, because it's interesting. They say Unite the Kingdom, and it's like I kept calling it Unite the Right for a long time, but I think they've done it on purpose. But anyway, it's like the recent Unite the Right protest. Now they had speakers there that called for, who are white nationalists, called for eugenics, who are um, basically racists. Now, I'd love to unpack her thoughts and say, right, are you a free speech absolutist? Do you think that's acceptable? Like, I'd love to know her limitations, because I got a feeling, like in the Lib Dems, she will probably have her limitations on some things. And I'd love to know where she sits on things like, would you allow Elon Musk? Would you allow Elon Musk and Tommy Robertson to all for debate and all for freedom of speech, free speech absolutions to platform racist, discriminatory, and harmful views. I doubt it. I don't know her personally, this doctor, but I doubt it. I feel like she's got a little bit of an agenda here. I'm not going to lie. I think there's a bit of an agenda with her. I think I just have a different opinion about what she thinks is liberalism. So, right, so love. Okay, so right, so what about the violence and tyranny of trans people who all they want to do is live their life peacefully? They just want to live their authentic, true self. They cannot help in their heads. They can't help it. I've got friends who are trans, and long before that, they absolutely struggled with their identity. They explored sexuality, they explored, trying to be straight, they explored, or maybe it's hormonal and stuff like that, and doing harmful things to their body, to their mind. All they want to do is live peacefully in what their true authentic self, and the violence they suffer, and the tyranny and the fear. That's what liberalism's about. Liberalism is the freedom, empowering people to give the freedom and liberty, extending freedom and liberty to live their true authentic self, and to live that peacefully. You just sound like a libertarian. You sound like a free speech absolutist libertarian. Sorry. Okay, I will accept. If we do have well, is it trans quotas? Is it trans quotas, or is it LGBT plus trans quotas? Because there's a difference there. There's a big difference there, and the trans population is significantly smaller than the gay and bisexual and lesbian community. So, is it actually, is it trans or is it LGBT plus? I'm gonna have to find this out. I'm gonna have to find this out. Google. Oh, I hate you, Bing. Hate you, Bing. LGBT plus LibDem quota. Oh God, descended to. Oh, it didn't descend it to a trans row too. Daily Telegraph, stop lying. Telegraph, Tory graph, you're lying. It did not descend into a row over. It passed over the 2/3 threshold unanimously. People did not agree with it. Go away, Tory graph, Telegraph. I'm not going to research. I'm not going to research this too much, but I don't know. But I don't know. If there is a separate trans quota, then fine. I accept that. I accept that. And I think, I think, the thing is, it's like sexuality and gender is so fluid now. I know people who like to identify as trans male, trans female, but I've got trans friends who just want to be known as female. They want to be known as female, or they want to be known as male. They don't want to be trans male, trans female. Now, for a lot of for the ones who do say they're trans male, trans female, I think it's because they have that sense of belonging. They want to have the sense of belonging to a community, particularly the LGBT community, which largely is quite support. Even I'm seeing transphobic stuff from the LGBT community, but largely, especially in organizational structures, they've been largely supportive of the trans community, and it's that kind of sense of belonging, that community, that kind of solidarity. But there'll be some now you can have, but for some people, it might be because they want to be a bit more visual and public about their identity. But there'll be some people who just say, "Oh no, I'm a woman, I'm a male." And they've gone through the whole hoops of whatever. So, and also, it's a very large group if it's LGBT plus. I don't think it is just a trans quota. I think it's LGBT plus, which is it's a large crowd, guys. Yes, I do care about all of that. Let's break this down. I I do care about the law, but the law is sometimes an arse, And we had laws that made homosexuality illegal. Two, I do care about women's rights, but you know what? Most essay, because I can't say on YouTube, most essay against women is by 99% of them are by men, and I, don't- you know, you're distracting the conversation. So, you know, if you care, then start talking. Start talking about the real culprits of this. Three, equalities. I think she talked about equalities. I care about equalities too. I also care about equalities. But equality. There should be equality for people who identify, you know, by the gender of their, of what they feel. They can't help that they feel like, that they want that. That they feel trapped in the wrong body. They can't help that. And I want them to have equality and empowerment and enfranchisement. And for freedom of speech, yes, I do, but there are consequences. I can't go around. I don't want to, and I can't go around saying, right, I think we should go and burn every I don't know. I want to burn every reform voter's house. That does not give me the, we should go around petrol bombing them, carpet bomb, blah blah blah. That does not give me the right. There are limits and consequences. If not legally, then at least there are consequences in terms of how that affects you with your employer, with your life, etc. And we're liberals, not libertarians. I'm going to keep saying it. We are the liberal Democrats, not the libertarian Democrats. Liberals, not libertarians. Thank you. Thank you. I was going to say something mean, but it might come across as a little bit misogynistic, but I'll just say she doesn't present herself very well. Good old Matthew. He voted to kill the bill. Not that's not right. And kill the motion. It doesn't need to be debated. I agree with that. There he is. Good on Matthew. Good on Matthew. I've noticed it's mostly men. Not to completely harp down, on the women. Like I get there are some women. I think there's a conflict between. I don't think there should be a conflict, but I understand there's a conflict and tension when it comes to like women, what it means to be a woman, sexuality, gender, women's safe spaces, and trans rights. I get there's a tension there, but much like how Reform um, have used their female MP as a prop to promote some of their most harmful and damaging, like some harmful, damaging things they want to do against women, which will strip back women's rights. I think sadly, a lot of, I think sadly, a lot of, I think sadly, a lot of, I think there's some women who are being played by this as well. I think it's mostly men are mostly orchestrating that. Because the reason I paused here is that I've noticed it's so. Oh, this it's you know I don't want to I kind of don't want to mispronounce them, but then I'm like being I feel like I'm being a bit of a dickhead. But it's mostly men. There's probably maybe I can't see it very well. So it looks like it's mostly men. Men seem to be a majority seem to be men. And I find that so interesting in a debate that's supposedly about women's safe spaces for women. But there we go. But it got defeated by 2/3. So it they killed it. And also they did an online voting. You can vote online. I've not even attempted to try and do that today. And while that is happening, I'm going to aim to do 2.5 hours. And while that is happening, I'm going to use this opportunity to go to the toilet. And I've apparently I have got 7 people watching me. So if you want to say hi in the chat, feel free to say hi. And yeah, so I'm just going to go for a quick toilet break, guys, and then I'll be back shortly. So cool. I'll do that. If I know how to stop it. And I'm back, guys. So, I hope you enjoyed the lovely promotional videos. Oh, that is a hello. Oh, oh, what are you doing here? that is unfortunate timing. That's such an unfortunate still. That's an unfortunate time to pause the video. Oh my god! Oh, that is funny. That's really funny to pause it there. Right. So, uh, I I text Matthew earlier too. So I had text Matthew. Matthew is my ears to the ground when it comes to the conference. So I thought I would text him a few questions, so I could say in the live stream. So I asked him what the media presence was like, and if any interest for us, and to trans vote. He's not actually answered any of this. So he's not actually answered my. He's answered the I suppose he's answered. Yeah. So let's just read what Matthew actually said. So sorry, was just at the Compass Fringe with Vince Cable. Ooh, Vince Cable. Yeah. We like Vince. We like Vince Cable. That's a good one. And he's also reported seeing Adam Bolton from Times Radio. So, Adam Bolton's moved from. Oh, he was Sky News, wasn't he? No, I didn't know he moved. Unless he works for both Sky News and Times Radio. Okay. So I did ask him what the media presence was like, and what does the interest. So I'm just going to put it in a voice note this time. So hold on, guys. Hi, Matthew. I'm currently recording this during my live stream. And I've just read out your message. Very, very good. Very good. Say hi to Vince. Say hi to Vince Cable for me. And yeah, I didn't know Adam Bolton worked for Times Radio. I thought he was still with Sky, unless he does both. I just thought I'd drop a quick one, asking if you could possibly to give us a mood what the conference is like. Has there been much media interest? Because I know there's been quite a bit of a concern, but the media, like the Lib Dems, were basically panicking because they weren't going to get anyone interested in joining at being at conference this year. So if you could just give us a mood, what conference has been, what's the mood, paint us a picture, and what's the media interest been like, or has it just been has there just been no interest? That'll be really, really good. You can either do it in a text or a voice note, mate. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, bye. So there we go. I've left a voice note for our Matthew. But yeah, let's just move on from this still, because it's kind of freaking me out, guys. I'm not gonna go. Oh my god, how much promotion are they doing? So the next bit I want to discuss is regarding, so Matthew, again, returning back to Matthew Holbert. Matthew has did a speech earlier, which I managed to see regarding youth services. It's that. So this is not Matthew Holbert. He's not done don't worry. He's not done a face-off style plastic surgery. I hope not. Anyway. So this is taken from. So this was a motion at conference on the need to improve youth services in rural communities and to make sure that they match the need that that urban cities do. And it's quite an interesting one, because I think we often forget or neglect a lot of these rural areas. I think we do actually neglect a lot of them at times, and I think we probably should be. It's probably hard being a young person but lives in remote communities, and to be able to connect with people. I mean, yes, we've got, but even online stuff. A lot of these rural areas, they haven't got the bandwidth or the download speed or the infrastructure to be able to speak to people reliably online, but I still think it's important, especially because it's great that we've got technology and the internet and people can talk to people online. It's great that we've got that, but I do think it's important. But one, just for just general socialization, but for young people to physically interact and meet and engage with people beyond their smart screens and tablets. And it must be hard if you're a kid that lives in the rural community, and especially if you live in a very remote rural community that is disconnected with lots of parts of the country. Then it must be difficult to sort of feel that sense of, oh, I've got a comment here. What is this? Let's have a look. What is this? Let's look on my phone. Well, I don't know what this is, but God, hashtag I am Charlie Kirk. Well, I don't know what that was in reference of, but hello. Well, I know the reference, but thank you for popping by. Thank you for joining in there. But no, it must be difficult. It must be difficult if you are someone who's a kid growing up in a remote rural area to have the same level of to be able to access the service level needs that is required. So I think it is quite an important motion. But anyway, so Matthew did a speech, and I thought I would just play this back. And so this is a motion in which if for conference to increase and improve the access of youth centres and youth services for people in rural communities. So I'll just let so Matthew starts straight after this person is finished speaking. And thank you. The excellent Matthew, did you slip of a tennis to say that? The excellent constituency of Hinckley and Bosworth. Matthew, have you been slipping £10 notes? Either that or he's local to the area. That's not the most exciting graphic. I mean, I'm sorry, as someone that designs my own graphics here, that's must try harder, I think, would be on my report card. What is that? It's like something you'd see from early. Oh no. Yes, and I think it's important that I mean, should you have done it at conference, Matthew? You know, I mean, it's already starting off pretty rough. Let's be honest. I mean, we had that people have tried to derail the trans argument. Just so it's already started off pretty rough, mate. But I'll take Matthew's point. I think there has to be a recognition that part of the problems is the legacy of the coalition government, and we did cut youth services. We did cut. I mean, some of it was in guise of being of restructuring, of mergers, of efficiency, but they were still essentially cut, and and a lot of it was left to be just. I mean, a lot of it was of the desire of George Osborne. He controlled the treasury. He cut local government funding by, I think, by a quarter. It's like ridiculous considering how much local governments help. Well, they basically do our social care. Let's be honest, they do our social care. But yeah, so obviously you are gonna, like, if you cut it by that much, you are gonna basically it's gonna be significant. You're gonna feel an impact. But yeah, it's a fair point. I think, but I do think we sometimes. I think maybe me and Matthew have a difference of opinion, but I do think we punch ourselves down a bit too much, and it's it's been years now, and I think we can't keep having to remind people about the coalition, because all it's going to do is remind people about the coalition. And we're as Keir Starmer once said when he was leader, we're a changed party. We're a changed Liberal Democrats. I mean, he got a bit of an applause, so I think it was always going to be a tough time getting any applause. So I'm quite surprised he got a slow clap, to be honest. So good one, Matthew. But yeah. Can I just say, I don't know if I've already commented this before, because, like I said, I recorded an original version and then I completely effed it up. Can I just say, look how dapper Matthew is looking. He's looking very dapper. Like, look at that. He's got his hair all, it's he's got his hair parted nicely. I mean, did he get hair and makeup? Matthew, did you get hair and makeup team? Let me know. Let me know. Who's your guy? Who's your guy? But no, like, looking dapper, looking smart. But can I just say, Matthew, what is with the tie? What is with the tie? I'm already disappointed that we've changed our once yellow, because of course I'm the yellow rebel. We've changed our once yellow branding to now this orange. The orange brokers have done a sneak attack because they know they're not going to win on policy, but they're like, you know what? We are going to win on branding and colours. So let's get that orange. Not happy. But Matthew, yellow tie. You need a yellow tie. Yellow tie. Anyway, let's carry on. Agree. Agree. I recognise him, but I don't know how. I think I must have added him on Twitter or something. Oh, I think I've had a run in with him. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But um, Completely agree. I agree with Matthew there. Uh, I think it's policy. I think we also should need. I think we should also make sure that schools have resources and have staff and even like separate builds or separate spaces where we they can act as like youth centres for schools for after school. I think it's Lib Dem policy that they want to have. I think they want to have mental health practitioners in every school. I think that's a policy, or every local authority at least. But yeah, I completely agree. I agree with Matthew there. But yeah, we'll just watch a bit. We'll watch a little bit more of this, and then I'll then take us up to speed and play it live. Do it live, as Bill O'Reilly would say. They all they don't have a bed. I've been hearing on the news that we are like slowly getting to like um Dickensian level of poverty. Like that is, I mean, that is so scary. They don't have a bed. They have to share beds with like brother and sister. Like, oh God. She kept saying as a whole, and I kept thinking, is she gonna like have a criticism of it? Maybe she does have a criticism of it. I don't know. No, no. It'd be so typically Lib Dem. I support it as a whole, but on the one hand, it's a bit like that. It's a bit like that Charles Kennedy joke. On the one hand and on the other. Anyway, let's skip ahead. I want to actually. Oh, perfect timing. Perfect timing. So, um, I'm just going to mute this. So, I do plan to watch Ed Davies' speech at some point. Now, whether I do it with a plus one, like with Matthew, or some other of my panel regulars, I don't know. But I do plan to what I do want to watch Ed Davies' speech, although it is on a Tuesday and I do work on a Tuesday. So I'll have to just wait and see on that, guys. But that would be a fun one to do. Um, Now, someone asked me when I tried to do the original live stream, which I completely failed on. Someone asked me if I was going to do the other conferences. Um, what is with the graphics, guys? Like that's good. That's good. That's really neat. Very tidy. It's got a little bit of animation there. Um, oh, I love the color choices: orange, pinky, almost red, blue. Oh, here we go. I don't know what she said. Oh, it's my girl. Let's turn that down. So, does the Pub Parliamentarian Year Award, does that mean she's a bit of a pisshead? Does she like a drink? Are you a bit of a beer girl, Daisy? Bit of a beer girl? I love Daisy Cooper. I absolutely love Daisy Cooper. I kind of I used to criticize her because she talks very quickly. But then I realized when I started doing my channel, I talk very quickly as well. So I've kind of like grown to love her more because I realized actually we're quite similar. But I love Daisy Cooper. I love her dress sense as well. Like that's just screaming oh style. And I like what she. Anyway, this is not about. I'm not a fashionista, not a Corbynista either. Ooh. Bit of a wobbly cookie, I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't look very stable. Very Theresa May. Strong and stable. Okay. National insurance. This is going to be national insurance taxes. Now. I actually agree. I agree that national insurance, if this is what you're going to go on about, I do agree that the national insurance contribution has not been it was not a good tax to use. However, I will give Labour some room here in that what are the Lib Dems going to propose? I get that they want to. They've said about additional services taxes. I get they've mentioned something about taxing social media corporations, but these are not big levers. They're not big tax levers. National insurance is a big tax lever. So what would you do? Because hasn't it raised like supposedly hasn't it raised like is it like 20 billion the national insurance rise has risen. So how are you going to fund like 20 where's the 20 billion pound black hole? Where are you going to fill that 20 billion pounds? I don't think you're going to get it from additional service tax or through now if you asked me, I personally would have done it through corporation tax. I think if you make a profit, then I think you know, I do agree national insurance was the wrong tax to use because it's basically an employer payroll tax. It's an employer poll tax, in my opinion, because it doesn't matter how good or successful your business is, you basically get taxed based on how many employers you've got. Um, and I do agree, but I think that we do need to start having serious conversations about what do we do to replace it. And I'm not hearing good arguments on that. Smash it with a hammer. It's interesting that I do think the Lib Dems are slowly maneuvering to be like more liberal one nation Tories because they're using language like jobs tax, which is something from the Conservative playbook, the jobs tax. And it's been sticking and they've been using that for a long time now. And I think it is an election strategy. I think they are going to use it as election strategy. Um, come the next election. Um, I mean, it'll be if this lasts this full parliament, that's going to be a whole. That's going to be like a full 5 years. I don't think will national insurance even be in people's memory. Will people just be adjusted to it by now? You know, because businesses do adjust based on tax policies. But I just find the language very interesting as someone who's a social liberal, like very Tory-esque kind of language. Okay. Okay. I'm interested. I'm interested. I'd be curious to know what these taxes would be. But I mean the high street is a very nuanced conversation. Some of it will be taxation. It's not just harming, I mean, national insurance isn't just harming hospitality. It's also harming just any business, really. Um, but hospitality, you've got loads of push and pull factors and competing you've got lots of push and pull competing factors here. There's yes, tax policy, I agree. A depressed economy with not a very good health, not a good outlook. The budget, I mean, the budget and national debt. I mean, this is where I think the Dems need to be serious about it because it's like, okay, if you're gonna oppose Labour's jobs tax, as you're calling it, what are you going to do to help mitigate any losses? Because right now, a lot of the financial sector are quite worried about Britain's Britain's overdraft, let's say, and I think that's depressing confidence in the economy as well. And it's not giving us a good outlook. But also technology and AI. You know, we do online shopping, we buy, globalization. I mean, this is why. I mean, I don't think you could shut Pandora's box once you've got globalization. But I think you can do things better by being in like things like the European Union. I think it was the best of both worlds. I think you had an EU free trading in your in zone. You had the free trade and movement, but then you were being protectionist outside of that. So it was the best of both. I think that being in the EU, but unless said, we've had that debate and we lost the argument. But well, I'd say we're still winning the argument due to the legacy of it. But also Brexit. I think Brexit's not really helped. Is not helping our um, Brexit's not helping our high street, but also planning laws. And I don't hear. Hi. Oh, so sorry. I got so distracted here. Showing the stream. We need to be stronger on immigration? Um, I guess what stronger. So I have quite a unique position on immigration. I actually am very pro immigration. I actually think because if you look at Spain, for example, Spain have done a completely different experiment when it comes to immigration. They've had pretty much close to open. They're in Schengen anyway. They're in the Schengen area anyway. So they have the freedom movement of EU, but even excluding that, they've actually encouraged a lot of migrants from like Latin America, from Africa, from the Middle East. They pretty much got as close to an open borders policy, and their latest GDP figures show that their growth is at is over 5%. And that is true. And also, what frustrates me. Oh, thank you. By the way, thank you, Alex. Thank you, Alex, for your question. But I think what frustrates me is that when people say, "Oh, we need to be like the Singapore," like you hear conservatives say, in this country, I can't say where you're from, but conservatives over here in this country, they often like to say things like, "Oh, well, we should be like the Singapore of Europe. We need to be the Singapore or Dubai of Europe." It's like, fine, okay, but you know what they have? They have very liberal immigration policy. They have golden visas. They have golden visas. They hire skilled workers, which we are losing a lot of skilled workers. I don't think Labour's tax policy is helping that debate, but we are losing skill. And it's like when people say, "Oh, we need to like another one." I've heard people say recently, "Oh, the junior doctors, we need to ban doctors striking." Fine, do that. You know what? They'll end up moving to Australia or Canada or America if you start banning them from striking because they pay them more. We're losing doctors and nurses, British doctors and nurses, because they pay them more. We're having to hire immigrants because it's more desirable and attractive in their home country. Um, yes, Alec, I completely agree, Alex. I completely agree. And I think as much as I like to make moral arguments about immigration, I think they're important. The moral arguments. I think we need to talk about the economic arguments. I think that's where we need to start challenging people on the media. And I do think we're too timid in the Lib Dems. If there's a complaint I have about the Lib Dems is that I think we're too timid when it comes to immigration. I think we are too timid. Now Matthew is say, "Oh, we're trying to," Matthew Holbert. I don't know if you watched my channel before, Alex, but Matthew Holbert's like part of my panel regular for my normal debates. He'll say, "Oh, we're doing this to appeal to the Tories." Now, I don't like that because my uncle's a Tory. He used to be. He's a liberal Tory. He's like a kind of he's between a Thatcherite Tory and a One Nation Tory, but he supports immigration because he understands the economic argument. He used to be a quantity surveyor director, and he said he said they're starving. They're absolutely crying out for workers in the construction industry because sadly, no Brit wants to do it. It's like the care industry. I'm guilty of this as well. Like, I, does anyone want to do that for minimum wage? No, no. And yeah. Matthew should be in the green. um, I think maybe he should be in the green. I think there's an argument there that he should be in the greens, but I think where the reason he's not in the greens is that he said to me privately, "I'm more reformist than idealistic. I'm more reformist and pragmatic than I am idealistic um, or revolutionary, I guess." But I do agree. I think there's definitely. Just let me just show your last comment. Matthew should be in the greens. But yeah, I do agree, Alex. I do agree. I think I think there's been times where I think is he in the right party? But I think he's a Lib Dem because it's the battle between idealism versus, I guess. Oh, I don't like to use it like populism. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna. Well, thank you, Alex, for your question. Um, um, a lot better than my first one. I was a bit confused by that one. I think that one was trying. I think the first one was trying to troll me a little bit. But yeah, keep them coming. Keep them coming, mate. I'll be doing about another half an hour, and then I'll close it today. But I want to listen more. It's a, more into Daisy. Oh. Oh, Alex, if you're still with me, I think I know who you are. Are you are you a bit of a are you a bit of a gym rat? Are you a bit of a gym rat? If I could call you that. Um, that's it. What do you think about people criticizing Ed Davies stunts? Do you think he should stop them or they fine? So I think they were fine in the election because it was a very crowded space. Um, I think yeah, I think we needed to grab attention in the there we go. I knew it was you. Hey mate, I hope you're well. Um I think it was needed in the 2024 election because I think we're still suffering with this now, but I've noticed actually recently that something's changed. I don't know if it's come from dissatisfaction or what, or there's been a change of team or something. But yeah, 2024, I think it was needed. I still quite like them. Like when they're a little bit more creative and a bit more inventive, I quite like them. It's the ones where he's just gone to a theme park. I'm like, you've just gone to a theme park for the day. But it humanizes the guy and it makes it a bit more personable, I guess. And to be honest, I know a lot of people who say I can't bring myself to vote Lib Dem, but I like Ed Davis. He seems like he's like your dad. He seems like fun dad. That's what I hear from a lot of people. He's like, oh, he's fun dad. I wouldn't trust him with the treasury, but he seems like a fun dad. And I think Ed Davies leading on to this now because he's been doing those memes against Musk. He's been doing a lot of memes, a lot of jokes, a lot of back and forth. He's been sort of bitey and doing kind of bitey kind of meme style jokes against Farages and those types. I think he knows realistically I'm not going to be prime minister, but if I can get that airtime and get that kind of breakthrough in the media space, then it's something. And again, there's people that find him quite likable. Even people that would not vote Lib Dem, they think, oh, he seems all right. And I think we need to recover from that from the times of the coalition. I think we're still suffering, sadly, from the coalition. I think we are getting there. I think the newer generation who were younger, who don't remember or didn't live through the coalition, I think young people are voting more. It's between us and the Greens in some polls. I mean, there's some polls where Labour is still first, which I can't understand why. Uh, but yeah, do you think it's? I mean, it's not. It doesn't seem to be harming our poll ratings. I mean, yeah, we're not. I would love us to do better, but we're +4, +5, and the +6, depending on which polls. We're +4 or 5 in some polls, so it doesn't seem to be harming them. You'd have to find me evidence that doing the poll is putting people off voting for the Liberal Democrats. What I do worry, though, Alex, is it becoming a bit of the Ed Davey party? There, not that's not to crap on Ed Davey. I think he's a very sincere, honourable, decent guy. He's your fun dad. He's someone who you'd want in for comfort. But there are so many great talents in the Lib Dems that I don't hit. Like even Daisy Cooper, she's meant to be our deputy leader, and I don't really get enough you know, I've not seen enough of her to get much of a lasting impression. And there are many other talented people in the Lib Dem backbench and front bench who I think are just scrambling for um, for elbow room when it comes to. And also, the Lib Dems do have a social media problem. Well, I do feel like Ed Davies taken all the best people from the social media team and put it for his team. That's like when I saw the SpongeBob meme, I thought, oh, that would have been great if the Lib Dems did that. Hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a good one. How credible? Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was. You have to be careful with some polls. Like, there's a particular. You probably know this, but there's this X account group called Stats for Lefties. Now, sometimes they'll release polls where I'm like, yeah, that seems pretty accurate. But there'll be some polls that they've just done themselves, or they've gone on these. They've really been really reaching and found this, you know, left wing, sample size. It's just full of, it's got a sample size of 50, and they've gone, oh, look, it shows your party at 50%. So I tend to be a bit careful. But no, actually, some polls have put us as the opposition. Now, we have to be, a lot of it, though, is due to how depressed the Labour and the Tory vote is. If you actually see us in percentage points, I think we're only about I say only 4-5% up. That's still 4-5% more than we were before. But even then, there are some polls where we're the opposition, but Labour's and Tories vote so depressed, we're only on 14%, and yet we become the official opposition. Now, ironically, I think unless Labour start getting electoral reform this year, I think we could see a situation where Labour are on 20% of the polls, we're on like 15, but we end up becoming the opposition party. Yeah, so I'll be curious to see that. But thanks again, Alex, for your comment. I really do appreciate that. I have got apparently there was about I was clocking about 12 people earlier, and I had one or two. Well, I had someone comment before, but I did a total F up. I don't know if I could say swear on YouTube, but I did a total F up when I first tried to do the live stream, and it just didn't record. So that person missed out. But thank you. Keep them coming. Keep them coming as much as you want. Great. So I just heard now that I heard something new there. So they want a national insurance contribution for part-time workers. I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to find out what that means. Damn. Let's look for lower rates. Consulting and creation of a new employer's national band for 5,000 to 9 for the lower rate. Right. Okay. But again, like I'm hearing a lot about we hate the jobs tax, we hate the national insurance tax, but I'm not hearing a lot about how we're going to raise money. Like, I mean, I agree. The national insurance tax, it was the wrong lever to use. I would have personally, have either raised everyone's income tax rate by 1 pence in the pound, or raised VAT, or raised corporation tax. I think corporation tax, it's a tax on profit. You know, it's a tax on like what you've made a return on. But you know, but you're what they're calling for. I suppose they're calling for like like. I suppose they're actually meeting halfway because they're saying, right, we understand now we're in a difficult mess when it comes to our physical finances. So we can't reverse the whole national insurance tax rise, but we want a new rate for part-time. I hope that's what they mean. I hope they don't want to reverse the Labour's national insurance tax rise, but then they also want to have a tax cut for part-time workers. Because again, it's like, where's the money going to come from, guys? I'm not hearing where the money's coming from. Mm-mm. Mm. Seems a bit weak. A bit. Oh, I suppose it's early election. It's early elections. You know, we're not in election time. It's still early into the Labour government, so I suppose we don't need to have the. You know, we probably don't need to have the sort of nuts and crannies of. I thought what was so we don't need to lay bare our full policy in detail, but. Hmm. Oh, love. I'm I'm 35. You're making me feel so old, like you've aged yourself. Oh, I've only just left, and I'm 22. God. I suppose they worked when they were 16. Did they say 16? You can't serve. Frustratingly, you can't. I remember. I know this because I recently got served at a pub, and she had to get the manager to. She had to get the manager to serve me a drink uh, because they were underage. They can't serve them. Oh, um, what tax would you? So, thank you, Sharon. What tax would you have used instead of national insurance contribution? Um, like I said earlier, I would have used. Um, I'm not opposed to using VAT because like some people think, oh, it's wealth tax, it's raising national income tax, you know. I do think we should simplify taxes. I do think we should probably streamline all incomes into just one tax schedule. So anything you've made from capital, stocks and shares, income, unearned income, stuff like that should just go under one tax schedule, and that would help. It'll help simplify things. It'll make it less bureaucratic, and um, it would also make it more simplified, and also it'll help tackle the issue of tax evasion, because you could just basically uh, codify um, in the tax law that this is it. But I would reduce the rates overall to make it more attractive. But you're being more honest. At least you're being more honest with people by saying, right, we're going to tax all income. It's going to be these bands and rates, but because we're going to factor the difference of um, of joining up all these different taxes into one income tax schedule, then we will reduce the rate so it kind of neutralizes it. And then you're just being honest. You're just having a more honest tax system. But that's a different story. Um, so yeah, I think there has to be a debate on uprooting our taxes and tax simplification and streamlining our taxes, so we just have one sort of tax schedule for things like income and stuff like that. But I do think we need to be a bit honest with ourselves. Like, I'm accepting. I do accept what Luke's argument. I accept Luke's argument now, and that Scandinavia, they do pay high VAT. Now they have better access to public services, better welfare system, inequality and social mobility is a lot better over there, but they do have high VAT. And I think we probably need to and also every time there's a lot of data to support this. Every time a government raises VAT, all economists, all experts, all pundits say, "Oh, it's going to depress the economy. Oh, it's going to depress the economy. People aren't going to spend. They'll spend less, and that will depress." Blah blah blah. There's no evidence that happens at all. There's no evidence that happens at all. Obviously, if you had to up to 10%, yeah, that would be. Of course, that would see a behavioural change in the economy. But actually, there's no evidence it does that. It's a regressive tax, and I want us to avoid having regressive taxation. But that's the price we need to pay in order to shelter welfare cuts and to improve public services and not limit ourselves with our tax levers, which if we tax, if we overburden the people who are, let's say, more mobile in the country, can just up and leave, then I think we do need to look at VAT. Even if we have a different VAT rate, even if we say, right, we have a luxury VAT, if you want to be a bit fairer, so that's what I would probably do. But also corporation tax would have probably made more sense than national insurance rise. Mm. So there we go, folks. Don't go to Odeon. Odeon are apparently arseholes. Dear. Hmm. Okay, so it seems like let's just there we go. Get out of frame. Give a bit of dignity. Um, it's interesting how they do these motions. Like I said, I've never been to a LibDem conference. I hope to go next year. So I don't know the ins and outs, and I've not and like I'm the only one that's not read the full LibDem constitutional document. Like anyone ever reads it. Like anyone seriously reads a full party constitution. If there's anyone in chat who does, please, like, even if you're not in the Lib Dems who has, please let me know. I'd be very curious. But no, like, it seems interesting that Daisy Cooper sort of, so the motions about hospitality, I get that. But it seems like there are two separate arguments. Like, one's like about is motions are motions quite are they littered with lots of points? Can they take out one bit of the motion? So are they like is there sections and subsections? And if you agree with all, like some people keep saying in whole, so maybe that's where they keep saying in whole on the whole. Um, but yeah, like it's this they sound like two separate arguments. Like one sounds more like a tax argument, and the other one sounds more about like kind of leadership and social issues. So yeah, very interesting one. Interesting one. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit dry, so I'm gonna skip ahead and let's see. I'm just gonna see. Oh, cool. Okay, so I've had an update from Matthew. I'm back in conference hall. Matthew, you're meant to be my ground reporter. Why are you not answering my questions? Oh dear. Matthew sounds like he's having a good time, so I'm not going to press on Matthew too much. I'm sure I can get update with him later. So yeah, he's back at conference, and he has seen Vince Cable at the Compass Fringe. Vince Cable, and he's also seen Adam Bolton. As people will know, he's been an anchor for Sky News, and I think he's been political editor for Sky News. But also, apparently, he's now doing something with Times Radio. So there we go. So it seems like there is some media interest at Lib Dem Conference this year because there was a lot of panic that the Lib Dems were panicking that they were basically they had no strategy when it came to their media strategy and addressing the media. So there we go. Oh, sorry. So there we go. Uh, so I am going to I'm going to mute this but keep this running for now until it's a shame that there isn't like a graphic to say what the conversation is or what's being debated. But yeah, like I said, I spent most of my morning watching the conference debates, the conference even. There's been speeches, there's been promotionals, there's been motions were voted, speeches made, just like general speeches, um, and it's been like it's quite dry. I'm not gonna lie, it's quite dry, especially that unless you like, I saw Matthew's speech. Obviously, for most people, I mean, I thought Matthew's speech was pretty good anyway. It was typical Matthew Holbert, a bit combative, a bit fiery, and just like it was just fun to watch because he's a mate. But obviously, if you see people that you like in the Lib Dems, I saw Josh. Josh. Oh, I forgot his last name. I always forget his last name. But I saw him. He gave the speech earlier. So yeah, I spent most of my morning watching it. I'm not gonna lie, I think it is quite dry. I mean, it is a conference, it is a party conference. I think things will start to get a bit more interesting. Like I said, like it had a very tense start this morning about the trans debate. Like, they were trying to table a motion to debate a constitutional amendment to exclude trans women in diversity, in women diversity quotas and in women's spaces within the Lib Dem. So it was quite a tense and fiery start. And also, like, some of the language was coming up from both sides sounded very confrontational. A lot of friction and tension there. I mean, I have my own arguments. I have my own opinions on it. I think, I generally think as a liberal, you should have the freedom and liberty to do whatever you want. But I've already said that. If people have been watching this throughout, but yeah, it's been. So yeah, it was quite a tense start, and then it just. So you can't say it didn't start off unexciting, and it even got picked up by. I noticed the Telegraph and I think a few other media. In fact, actually, while we're waiting for something interesting to happen at the conference, why don't we just have a quick look at BBC News? So here we go. So what has been? Has there been any? Oh, so someone is Alex is. I keep saying Alec. Alex already asked me a question about this. It's interesting. This is Ed Davey loves clowning around, but is it time for the Dems got serious? Okay, okay. It's quite it is interesting that Ed Davey seems to. He does have his fair share of critics when it comes to the stunts that he does. And a lot of people like I mean there's just as many people. I said there are many people who, because I do think it kind of humanizes a politician. It makes it a bit more personable and a bit more reaching. And like I said, he comes across as kind of like fun dad, Ed Davey. And I do know people that say I wouldn't normally vote Liberal Democrat, but I do like Ed Davey. But equally, there are many people who say I want to vote Liberal Democrat, but I can't take him seriously. And I think I think he's basically his own equivalent of Marmite. In that, I don't think people either like hate him or love him, but I think when it comes to the stunts, he definitely has a Marmite quality when it comes to that. But no, I just thought that was interesting. That also more drama regarding Sultana and Corbyn debacle. It was always going to be that way. Any party that's founded on ideological purity is always doomed to fail. Lib Dems want to use wartime powers to clear asylum backlog. Okay, so I wish I was there. So was this a conference? The government should use emergency powers to clear and reduce the use of hotels. I mean, I'm pretty much very open. I'm close to. I'm not full on open immigration, open borders, but I'm pretty much close to that. I'm very on the left when it comes to immigration, and I just think sometimes the debates we have about immigration, even within our own party, is a bit ridiculous. Really, I mean, even we're taking narratives about, oh, the burdens, they're costing the taxpayer. Well, they're costing the taxpayer due to our failures as an international world power to make sure countries abide by international law, and also things like helping them with climate change, and there's so much geopolitical factors, but no one wants to talk about that because it's too much for some people. We just like dum-dum arguments. It's easy to just have dum-dum arguments. Let's just blame immigrants. It's all their fault. Not the fact that, there are international pressures that causes a lot of the problems. But hey, so what did he say? Told reporters, massive increase in short period. We want government to get a grips. We want them to get a grips on things. Oh, I've noticed that my screen has moved. What's happened here? What has happened? Oh, well, I need to change this. Leo. Well, I generally don't know what happened here. Oh well. So my screen's at the bottom now. But hey, Lib Dems. So I believe Lisa Smart has become our Home Affairs. I say our, I mean our as in my party. I think Home Affairs spokesperson, spokeswoman. I'm surprised the BBC said that. I'm surprised the BBC. I thought they used to be quite careful about what they said. I mean, she is a cis female, so I suppose it doesn't bother her. But I just like saying spokesperson because I think it's just like a spokesman. Just I just don't like. It's just a personal thing for me anyway. But I won't be a Lib Dem if I didn't have overthink things. That's not right. So the party's calling for. Okay, so I heard about the police desks at supermarkets and libraries, and again, these are very good ideas, and and also a lot of people would think, oh, this is quite conservative. It's something you would expect that would basically be earmarked in order to appeal to liberal Tories in the shires, but I just think it's a very liberal policy. I think it's a very liberal policy in law and order. We should be doing a lot more community policing. And my approach when it comes to law and order is that I think we need to be very responsive. We need to be quickly reactive and responsive when it comes to the crime themselves. It needs to be preventative. But when it comes to when it goes to court and the justice bit, I think we should be restorative justice. I think there should be community kind of orders and community outreach and stuff like that. It's not giving them a free ride. It's basically looking at alternative methods by saying, well, actually, you're a kid that's done his first petty crime. Does it make sense to have you go in prisons where basically it's an academy for more crime? You're going to come out as a worse criminal. So evidence-based stuff. So I think actually it lives to very liberal ideas, having like that kind of community-centered, responsive, reactive policing, and I just think that's a really sensible policy. I just agree with that, and it would actually appeal to some conservatives as well, because it gives the presentation that it's very law and order, tough on crime. So yeah. I can't find anything conference related. So I think she must have made focusing on the first day, focusing on law and order on the first day of annual conference. I hope in her conference speech she said too many crimes go unreported, unsolved. So apparently there is a conference speech she made. So when did she do that? So this was about updated 33 minutes ago. So Bear with me, guys. I'm gonna see if I could find her speech. That because that sounds really interesting to me. Now, can I get a transcript of this? Oh my god, how many ads? Ah, it's long. Whoa. What? That is ridiculous, guys. Oh, hang on. Oh, I there we go. It was the last thing. It was the last thing before. No. No. Here we go. So here we go. So Lisa Smart, she's our Home Affairs. So I say ours. So again, I meant for the Liberal Democrats, which is a party that I belong to. She's our Home Affairs spokeswoman, apparently, according to the BBC, not spokesperson. Harry Hartman would probably have a hard time with that. So they did deliver a speech today, and looking at the BBC report, it was actually quite an interesting one in which she seems to. Um, in, she's announced a few policies where it seems like she's one trying to appeal to liberal Tory Shire types by calling for police desks in supermarkets and in libraries and community hub places. And also, she appears to be calling for using wartime emergency powers when it comes to dealing with the asylum backlog. So I'll be very curious how this will go about. So let's watch this. Oh, oh, and I'm stuck in a. Let's move it forward. Oh, I've done it again. Right, I'm just gonna have to do it here. Excuse me. We love you. We love you, Lynn Stone. That's interesting considering the this morning when we had the trans motion and she's already articulated it a lot better than how I tried to do it. Yeah. Like I said, freedom from we are liberals is about freedom to, or freedom of, and the freedom from. No, well done, well done. There was a little bit of anxiety when she was selected as our Home Affairs spokesperson because they did in their acceptance I guess, email, letter, whatever you want to call it, they didn't really mention trans rights at all. And in private conversations with my good friend and fellow Lib Dem member, um, they were a bit concerned that it wasn't even given a mention, given um, how it's been in the news and it's being debated. But there we go. Now, whether she was pushed or shoved to make this, I don't know. But yeah, good on her. I'm not gonna lie, she's not the most exciting person to listen to. Um, and I do think I am a bit worried that there are better people in the Lib Dems, even in the backbench, who could. Yeah, let's just. I'm probably being a bit unfair, but I'm kind. Let's just carry on. Let's just hear her out. It feels very like, oh, what's that famous tech talk? What's it called? TED Talk. It feels quite TED Talk a little bit. Yeah, that was okay. That was okay. It felt a bit on the nose, bit predictable. It was okay. Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna pause there because I realise it's been 2.5 hours, and if I include my original cock up recording that I did to start, and it's been nearly 3.5 to 4 hours. So I just thought I'd take a pause there. Yeah, I'm so having listened to it. It seems like um, it absolutely adheres to our values. I like that she reminded about our liberal values when it comes to trans rights, and but also hearing more about the asylum backlog using the emergency powers, the Nightingale processing centres. I think it's a pretty good idea. Now, the thing is, like, there has to be detail. There has to be some detail there. Like, what? How is this going to get funded? Are we going to be? Is there going to be like World War? to or even COVID style procurements, mandatory procurements, where the government will basically just say, we're going to use this acquisition this in order to, and also acquisition this in order to run as like a makeshift recruitment processing center, but also staff. Like, we've already got legacy of Brexit. We've already got issues with staff recruitment in most industries, and I can imagine, especially in public services as well. And I do wonder, like, how are we going to get the staff? It's all good. It's like saying, right, I'm going to build 10 hospitals, but I've got nothing to budget or no plan to get any staff in. They'll just be empty shells. Empty shells. See, I think we need to be a little bit more colourful and a little bit more creative when it comes to dealing with this issue of immigration. Well, in this context with refugees and process, I think we need to. I think, this controversially, I think we're probably going to have to look at having an amnesty. I think we're going to have to do a clean slate and have some kind of amnesty if we're going to be a bit realistic with this, which, it's not unheard of. Many conservatives over in America have done that. Reagan did it. George H.W. Bush did it. And I think also George Bush Jr. did it as well. So it can be done. Sometimes it's head over heart. And I think that's why they did it. It was head over heart for those 3 examples. But again, not a bad idea having the Nightingale using emergency powers to create Nightingale type processing centers. But again, the devil's in the details. Have we got the staff? Is it building capacity or is it staff capacity? Like I said, it'd be like me building a hospital and then just not hiring any staff. It'd just be an empty shell. But yeah. So this has been an interesting one. Like I said, it's been a little bit. It's a little bit on the knee. It was a bit rough and ready. I just thought, why not? Why not? Since I'm missing out on conference this year, I'm sure Matthew will gloat about that. I thought, why not do a stream of it? So yeah, it's been good. It's been good doing this, and thank you for people who commented. Thank you for your kind most of them, I think, anyway. But yeah, so I'm going to sign off now. I'm going to give my voice a rest and walk, and also a little bit of exercise, because I've been sitting down for probably nearly 4 hours now, if I include my setup and my failed attempt to do my first recording of this. But yeah, anywho, thank you so much, and until then, have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world, and so long for now. Goodbye.